All right, Get Better Everyday podcast with Matt Gougé. I'm excited. I got my buddy Cam Villa, Kickball, extraordinaire,
Oh man,
father, husband, mortgage, co-owner. You could talk some Golden Bay.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff, dude. I'm gonna tease the audience with some of these things that we're gonna talk about, just so they stick around. I can't wait to talk about how you rock 60 days of vacation, especially in this industry.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you questions around team support and templates and virtual assistants selfishly so I can learn.
Yeah.
But the audience, they're going to get to ride along and learn. We'll talk about decision fatigue, Eisenhower matrix, essentialism, and I know you're big in the community, so we'll talk about that stuff too. But before we get started, who is Cam Villa, man? Maybe take us back to the start. Young Cam Villa, circa 1980s, bro.
Yeah. So I was born in like that Oakland, Livermore area. That's like where my parents lived. And we moved to Sacramento when probably I was like 4 or 5. I grew up in Arden Park, and everyone knows Arden Park, right? So my mom was a kindergarten teacher at Mariemont Elementary. So all my brothers and sisters, we went to the same school that our mom taught at. So it was like that close knit. You get ready for summer and people are pumped, and it's like, no, my mom's going to be at home every day. It's summer. She gets the summers off too. So I really grew up in really like an educational focused and sports focused family. Like that's kind of what you did like growing up. Really the only time that I left Sacramento was when I went to college, went off to Chico State. And I have been in the mortgage business as long as I can kind of consider it being my professional life. I got out of college and they were doing some really unique things, which I can see them doing now, but they were pulling college graduates out and putting them as assistants for very high level loan officers through Chase Manhattan. And that's how me and really this whole friends group that I grew up with, we all got started in mortgages when we graduated from college.
Sweet, man.
Yeah.
What did your pops do? What did he do for a living?
My dad was an accountant. My pops passed away in 2002. So right when I graduated from college, my dad was diagnosed with a really rare form of cancer, passed away. A lot of the way that I work now is like attributed to that, because I think back then I really went out of my way to try to prove to people that I wasn't affected by it and I could get back to work, and this is part of life and you got to keep going, and the bill collectors are still going to be there. And I really think like mentally that I struggled with that because I didn't like just allow time to heal, let good things come back into your life. Like it was hard for me at that time. I have a stepdad that's in my life too, really important. He is a civil engineer. So I have like this whole kind of analytical guy that I get to back on now. And he's a great father figure.
Yeah. Sorry to hear about the pops, man. So 02, you were early 20s?
Yeah. Oh, I got this tattoo right here. 020202. That's like when he passed away
on
in
February
February.
2nd, 02?
Yeah.
Wow, dude.
And it was fast. I mean, that's like, you hear all these cancer stories that people are like, yeah, years, and he fought it. It was months, so it was like, that was tough.
Yeah. I mean, dude, both of us now in our mid 40s, I think like besides all this mortgage stuff we talk about, like we realize life is finite. And then I'm sure, both of us are like, oh my gosh, she's got breast cancer. We're hearing these stories. And so, it reminds us to have balance and not be all in. Me and you talked about a little bit off air. Like I'm sure we've both been in the trenches where you're like, business is everything. I got to work 80 hours a week. I got to bleed out of my eyeballs. And you realize like you can't do that and, spend time that you can't ever get back. Kid's never going to be 11 again.
Yeah.
Kid's never going to be a sophomore in high school again. And so, I know I struggle with that personally. But was it that experience you think that made you, carve out 60 days of vacation now? Is that?
I think it was having a daughter was more like that was what was going on. Like, I think COVID played a big role in kind of rearranging my lifestyle to have a little bit more family focused and kind of do some of those things that we're going to talk about, because it allowed me to carve out time to do some important things in my life. And I think it also raised my status with my clients. And I think that's something that loan officers and real estate professionals struggle with, because if you call out and say that you're available 24 hours and you can call me anytime, they will.
Yeah.
And they'll expect things from you.
Right.
But I think if you set it up accurately, you can still probably reap more benefits having something a little bit more structured.
Yeah, because I think what we'll get into, because you mentioned, systems and processes, like you have to have that stuff in order to, not be all things to all people at all times.
Yeah.
And so, it forces you to be a better business owner, run a better business if you have all that stuff in place. Before we get past it, dude, like just tell me, like 60 days of vacation a year. No shit.
60 days of vacation. My wife knows, Jamie. My daughter Poppy knows, but yeah, 60 days. So what I consider 60 days of vacation is walking away from your desk, not having to go somewhere else and do work. So one of the examples is, the UWM success tracks that we go to. I consider those vacations because I am not working during those times. And if you've ever been to any of those events, it's filled with people taking phone calls on their computer, tapping away. I'm not that type of loan officer anymore. I do have systems in place where I can walk away and everything still functions the way it's supposed to be.
Right. And you glean more benefit. You get better by being fully present at those events. And so I love to hear that too, because it's family vacations is also professional.
Yeah.
Like this, you'll love this, dude. Last week we're in Louisiana with the AIM Association for Fuse. Phenomenal event. And like you said,
you look like you had fun.
But people, I got better. And like you, I'm trying to say, listen, while I'm here to learn. I'm here to be fully engaged. And, that I can get, back to that client. I've got great support staff here that's going to help me out. And so while we're there, to your point, people are making phone calls. They're typing away on their computer. They're not fully there. They're not absorbing things. Ed Milet is like, I love the stuff he does online. In person, it was a friggin' experience. And he like literally stopped a couple times and go, dude, you're typing away on your phone. Somebody who's worth $800 million is here to speak to you, to pour a little bit of knowledge on you.
Absolutely.
And that's what you're choosing to do. Like he literally called people out and he's 100% right. And so I love to hear from you that, that's intentional.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's the stuff that's hard to measure. Talk about getting better every day. Like people will say it, but the little tiny things where like, we walked out of that too. That Ed Milet like presentation for an hour, like I said, was an experience. A lot of people were moved. They were crying. They were emotional. They were inspired. I talked to somebody and he's like, so-and-so said it didn't really do it for him. Not their cup of tea, which is, could just be different people like different things. But also what I've experienced in my life is when you're fully present and engaged, it's a different experience.
Yeah.
And so somebody who was like returning the email, they're thinking about like, oh my gosh, that appraisal was due today. There's appraisal contingency. I got to make sure I respond to this real estate agent because I don't have the systems and stuff set up. Like they didn't have the same experience that I had.
Absolutely.
Like I didn't even take a picture because I was so involved, not looking at anything else, but being engaged. So that's cool. It's cool to hear, man. So along those lines, my next question to you is the team support stuff you talked about.
Yeah.
So,
well, to kind of coincide with the vacation and the team support, I'm planning my trips up to a year out. So my whole team knows what's going on. If I need to talk about how this goes down 6 months before, one of them is as soon as my daughter graduates 6th grade, I'm going to Europe for a month.
Nice.
And we're going to travel some countries and we're going to have that handled. And that's going to happen in July. And that's already something that I've talked about. I mark them out on my calendar as far out. And then I plan work stuff around that.
Yeah. I gotta get with you on that. My younger son's in 6th grade. So his 6th grade.
We're seeing, and you know how fast they grow. I think that's like, we're now into like the physical part of it, right? Where like we see them and we're like, oh my gosh, that's like a young adult. And I need to start treating them as such. And they need to, they're done listening to my words. Mm-hmm. They want to see my actions now.
Yeah.
They're done listening to anything I got to say.
Yeah. More is caught than is taught. I really like that one. It's so true, man. Like, I can say whatever and it's like in one ear out the other, but it's like, oh, dad walks this way. He does this, and the actions that mom and dad actually do, that's the stuff that's going to be caught by our kiddos. So, selfishly, I want to talk about all that. I want to talk about how you utilize VAs. I want to talk about templates. I want to talk about business stuff, because in the spirit of getting better every day, there's always something to learn, man. And
well, you and I get to be in the same kind of bubble together. So I think you and I probably learn more from each other than like what else is going on out there. Like you and I are really plugged in, and we run into each other quite a bit.
yeah, for sure. So yeah, tell me, because as your mortgage career has evolved, you and Renee stand up Golden Bay Mortgage Group. I don't know if I've told you in person, but really love and respect you guys and what you do and how you treat the business, how you treat referral partners. Yeah. And, there's a lot of people in the mortgage space, and there's a small sliver that I'm like, love and respect how these guys are doing it. You guys have always been that for me. So,
appreciate that.
I want to make sure I tell you that. So yeah, tell me, dude, like give me some stuff, some tangible stuff I can take away today so I can get better.
So like team support stuff is big picture. Renee and I help run a group of about 30 loan officers. I would say 15 of those loan officers are considered full-time. So if you said, what's my job, they would raise their hands and say, I'm a loan officer, right? We have a group that, there's this part-time aspect to it. But really, I'm coming from the experience that I think a loan officer needs to close on average 3 loans a month in order to be successful enough to have a mortgage business. Right. And that's cool if you got a side hustle and your side hustle makes you some bucks. But I'm talking about a full-time mortgage professional. I share an assistant. So I have one dedicated member on my team. And then I have 4 virtual assistants that my company shares. And then our operations setup is we have 2, call them processors or loan partners. And their goal, my numbers are in the 30 to 50 mark for our total company. So we're just trying to be the best on our block, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's definitely success in that. And there's this crossover point that you need to do as like a mortgage company, because being middle or medium is like really expensive. And we're still kind of experiencing that level of a mortgage company.
Yeah.
But I do believe that the setup and our fiduciary responsibility to our clients is established in the team role. And what I mean by that is you could be the best loan officer in the world, but if you're the loan officer, the underwriter, the assistant, the underwriting assistant, if you're all those paces in the transaction, I don't think you're doing your client a service. And I don't think that's a repeatable activity. Right. It's very linear to me.
Yeah.
And really, I think if you're a professional in our business, the goal would be to create some kind of team structure so you can repeat that over and over again.
Yeah. I think too, people get confused because they think that like, oh, that's scaling all those systems and processes, that's for somebody who's trying to do 20 loans a month, 25 loans a month. But to go from 1 or 2 loans a month to 5 loans a month, have specific roles where, the best person who's, loves paperwork, dotting I's, crossing T's, running DU, checking guidelines, like that might not be the person that's also really good at establishing real estate agent relationships and making sure that like, hey, we've got your back. When you send it to Golden Bay, rest assured, it's double and triple checked. We're going to get it to the finish line in a timely manner. So when your reputation's on the line and so is ours, and we promise we can close in 18 days, we can do it. And so, I've learned that too. And I think for anybody listening, like you said, 3 loans a month or so might be the baseline just to have enough reps to kind of be learning as this like industry constantly evolves. What's going on in real estate in September of 24 is not what's going on in real estate in July or August even, right? It's constantly changing. And, to be someone who's given great advice, it's really hard if you haven't been on the field in 10 years, right? Yeah. Like coaching a football team and you haven't been around football, but you know how to call plays or what, I don't know what the analogy is
we
there.
Go back to these numbers where, a successful realtor in our market does 10 to 15 transactions. That's not going to make it as a loan officer in that same community. We need to be in the high doubles and in the triples, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And title's above us on that. Title can't do it on a couple hundred. They need a couple thousand transactions. So there's like this multiplying effect. Like we're kind of in this middle area where we need to network the heck out of everything. You're doing something where you're blanketing literally the world, right? Like YouTube is accessible by everyone. There's this give and take that we're in kind of the middle of.
Yeah, for sure. So, with the changes that have been going on, like what is something that you guys do really well, as loan partners? Because it's funny.
Speed, speed. I think is, and I'm gonna yell it again. Speed. I think that's one of the reasons why I have this set up. People call them virtual assistants. I have a team that works in the Philippines. They're contracted. They typically work off hours, which are their on hours in the Philippines. They do data entry. They do verification work for us through specific channels that we go through. Really, my goal is when someone delivers us information and they want to get pre-qualified or set up for a refinance, I want to be able to respond to them accurately within 24 hours.
Yeah.
I think that there's this pool, and we know this number. They're going to go with you 75% of the time as the first option, and the first two options they're going to capture 92% of that. So you just being an accessible human being and doing what you say you're going to do gets you a very long way in the mortgage business.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I've found that too. Like once you do enough stuff online, like for whatever reason, I think like my Google profile seems to be, popping off. People are calling me. And
you're famous,
I don't, maybe, by some metric, there's some level of, but that's a good point too. Like I talk to loan officers, and you don't have to be the best. You just want to be the best known, right? And so
I just want to be the best on my block.
Yeah.
If I can do 100 to 150 transactions as a solo loan officer, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's hundreds of thousands of dollars, as you and I know. And to do that many transactions, that's your street that you live on.
Yeah.
That's your neighborhood that you live in. So I think you and I are kind of like that diamonds right underneath our feet. Like, I don't need to go out and have someone market for me that doesn't know me or know my community.
Yeah. We're not paying for,
I can do that on my own.
Click through ads or anything. And I think you're exactly right. And these last few years, I've seen people kind of change strategy, and it's like, we're going to do the most business in the world. And then you realize like I could make a really good living doing 100 deals, 150 deals. The goal, like for me, like right now, and it sounds like you're aligned with this, is like, how do we do that in an efficient way where I can also be a great dad and a great husband and, have impact in my community and have time for that stuff, and create a great client experience. So the client's like, man, talk to Cam and he's dialed in, man. He's got these people helping with this, and they walked me right through it and closed my deal in 17 days. And, we're in the house and whatnot. So,
if you don't have systems in place or a coach or a mentor, then you're always looking to change.
Right.
That's the only thing you know. How else do you find satisfaction in the things that you're doing? Because the hard things are not fun. It's not fun to cold call. It's not fun to call a past client that you might have had a rocky relationship for, or we're all in that experience where we have this realtor pool that we service and you have tough loans.
Yeah.
And if you don't stay in front or something happens, like we're all experienced that part, like that's your partner.
Yeah.
There's just things that happen that I'm really trying to practice, like doing the hardest things first. Cause again, I just want to be the best on my block. I don't know all these national big time loan officers, and I don't want to. I don't want to be friends with them. I don't want to hang like that. I want to learn from them, and I totally will be like a sponge in the room. But like at the end of the day, like I'm not going out and throwing a football with you.
Yeah.
Like I really want to get in and get out.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of satisfaction in that, like being your community loan officer, right? Like Cam services, this community, he's really good. And that I know is important to you. I know you've got Kickball. I know your wife's involved heavily with the community.
Yeah.
I see you at SAR, you're serving Cantry Committee and stuff. So tell us, how long has that been a part of, who you are, serving the community and doing that stuff?
My mom has always been part of the community. I think probably my mom's biggest benefit is everyone has, in the elementary schools now, they have like inclusion, right? Like if anything special needs, you're in a regular elementary school with an aide, with whatever help that you need. My mom helped put that on the map, right? Like that everyone has a place. So who am I to deny anyone a place in my community? I started my kickball league, not because I wanted loans, because people kept talking shit about hella homeless people in our neighborhood. And I said, if we have activities in our neighborhood and everyone can access the park, homeless people are welcome to be in our park. Enjoy, rest, be safe. We're going to be there too, so you can enjoy whatever experience, right? That was like my main thing about community. And I think sometimes it spills over to loans. You and I talk to people that we know for a fact will not be qualified to buy a home. Are we allowed to deny them by law? No. Take the application if you want and take those steps. And in 2 years, 3 years, when you're ready, I'll be there for you for that experience. The community part that I love is I get to piggyback off my wife. She is an elected school board official. She's finishing her term. She was all about the kids, and folks will know that. And I think a lot of that was the COVID experience was very hard. I think in Sacramento in general, in terms of how our economy works, and very few of us were fortunate to like be able to keep working and doing what we do. And fortunately found a ton of success during that time and almost had to hide it from the rest of the world.
Right, right.
And then for my wife to just be selflessly involved in the community because she didn't have her own experience in school says a whole lot. I think that we're not politically a motivated family whatsoever. People know my political alignment, but that doesn't take away from wanting to help anyone in my community like be better. This is your podcast. I try to do that in my community. Like if everyone's better every day a little bit, then we all win.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. So how long ago was that kickball league?
I started my kickball league 6 years ago. And I initially called it the sponsor league. So being a business owner, a couple items was any donation, $250 or less, you don't have to say where it's going. You can say it's charity, right? So I hit up these businesses around Sacramento and I said, I'd love for you to sponsor our kickball league. You'll be on our shirt. I'll speak good things about your name. We have a mortgage company, Golden Bay Mortgage Company is involved. We have some realtors. So what happened was we were able to create this league. And when people said, what's the cost? I said, $20. And they said, man, every game, like how many games do we play? And I said, no, $20 for the whole season. That covers your shirt. I covered everything else, park fees, equipment, the end of the year party, the beginning of the year party, all of it. All of it was covered. There's 150 people in that league.
Wow.
We play from May to August. Business-wise, I've closed 15 to 20 transactions in that 6 years, grassroots, right? So I just want to be involved in my community. I think one of the things that's lacking in adults is play and competition.
Yeah.
And those two functioning at the same time.
Yeah.
Because you meet these people that are, anyone that I meet that is so competitive where it's literally almost a fight to the death, I know that they're not a true competitor. They have not been that in enough because we've all lost, had to walk away, regroup, and do this again. And that's probably one of the things I get the kick out of the most of the kickball league because I get to see real human emotion. And that's just kind of like the stuff that's going out here on the internet. Like, do you want to have a discussion, an argument? Well, it has to end at some point, and we both have to walk away from this alive. Yeah. So let's find where that medium is. And kickball for me was that kind of bringing together my neighborhood, being able to have this competition. And then if we have an actual argument about stressful things in our lives, it's just a discussion. It's right. It's not life or death at that point. So kickball has been amazing. I coach a little bit more than I play, but I still get out there a lot. And we got 6 teams in our league, 150 players.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I actually think I read or heard something from you, which made sense, right? Like all communities have issues. The hardest part is talking about it, right?
Yeah.
And so by creating a league like that, that's, it's recreational, it's fun, and we're outdoors and we're moving, but it's also where the community gets together and it's like, hey, we've noticed, this has become an issue or that's become an issue. Like it's somewhere where people could talk about that. And then over time, you probably create relationships and there's enough comfort to say, hey, Cam, I know your wife's involved in the school board. What about this or that?
Absolutely. They need, and that's the other part. My wife is a community member. She, as a school board trustee, you are the accessible person in your community that people can go to when they have issues with their school. And there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
There's plenty, but it's coming to an end for her. She's really done her great work. And honestly, I've gotten to meet all the leaders of Sacramento on the political level. Like that's been really the coolest part for me.
Yeah, that is super cool. It's funny, like as I've grown older, like I told this to the AIM organization last week. A lot of these organizations, a lot of these boards, unpaid positions where it's a pert near full-time job. And, my wife and I were talking and she was like, how can you knock somebody who's like their most precious commodity time?
Yeah.
They're giving it up to be on the board of
it's a full-time job for her, and she gets paid $700 a month and has a full-time job outside of that, and is a mom and a wife and all that kind of stuff. So it's wild. Any board's wild. Like that's kind of what I think the focus of a board is sometimes, is to kind of do a little bit of that soul sucking, right? Like they really want to extract a little energy from you to put back into this company.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, kudos to your wifey for all the work there, because like you said, there's always going to be issues with schools and education and whatnot, but without people getting together and
man, it starts at home.
Yeah.
It starts at home. If you let teachers raise your kids, then it's on you. They're with our kids more than anyone.
Right.
But I think there's a definitive role that teachers play in our lives, in our community, and outside of that, like parents need to fill that other void.
Yeah, I honestly, dude, I see both sides of that. I always told people, like, listen, like you can make whatever you want of yourself, no matter, you go to the best private school. I went to public school.
Yeah,
I turned out all right, and I think that it's probably a function of, having great teachers, but also having, enough drive and outside influence to get me along. But, looking back, like I had some amazing teachers, dude.
Yeah.
I had some teachers and some, educational folks that they're not in that profession because it's the highest paying profession out there. And a lot of them, I'm going on my third year as the school's basketball coach, dude.
I wanted to be a teacher. That's what that was my idea in college. That's what I wanted to do afterwards. I fell into loans but that was really being a college professor. I think would be one of the coolest things that you could do. Yeah.
I think you could still go back and be like,
I got some time,
part-time.
I could do this. I could do this.
Yeah. You could throw one class on the books, dude. And, I'm hearing a lot of stuff too. You're closer to it than I am to know this, but I know there's like a shortage of substitute teachers. So I've got like my wife's cousin, my sister, dude, like went and like, here's the requirements and fingerprints and background check.
I'm a sub. I'm a full licensed sub. I got my California teaching credential. It's a 30-day sub. So what it is you can sub any class 30 days or less. So I have that license. It sticks with you.
And you can do any subject?
I renew it every year. Yeah, you can do any subjects for high school and below. I'm more of a when I did sub, and this was like, probably the last time I subbed was maybe 7 or 8 years ago. I was an econ substitute. So like literally what you do is like, if you work in a district, you contact all those econ teachers, let them know what you do in the community, your status, and then ask to be picked up on those jobs. And then you sub.
So the teacher that's going to be out, they pick their sub?
They pick their sub. They can recommend their sub if that sub is licensed with that school district.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. So I've been with like Sac City School District. I've been with Galt School District. Not Sac City, San Juan. I should be licensed with Sac City, but then I've been with Galt School District too. So.
Yeah, you might have already answered this question, but if it wasn't for mortgages, what profession would it be?
Teaching for sure, because I really like coaching. I was a rugby coach when I was younger. It's to be a school coach, you really have to be off work at 3 p.m.
Yeah.
Right. So that really is only afforded to people like you and me that are self-employed and teachers and educators already.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I know. I love it, dude. 'Cause sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, they got me back for another year. I gotta leave at 3:00 on Wednesdays when we have games. I gotta pick another day where I leave early to put together a practice. But man, like being, even if it's like the smallest piece of like this kid's future, where you know, speak something into him, like, man, you know, you're doing great out there. Make sure that you're taking care of, you know, studies and you're getting good grades. You're listening to your teacher. You know, I know how big of an influence educators and coaches can have because they had it on me.
Yeah.
And so to be that for others, like that's cool, man.
You need to be like planting trees that you're never going to sit under the shade of. Like plant away. Like that's the things that you say to kids now are life-changing. Think of all the things that our coaches and these older people said in our lives that they were just probably like flying it right off the cuff. They wouldn't remember if you asked them, but to you and I, it was life-changing. And that's like, even with being a parent, that's something that I deal with all the time. Like when you get angry at your kid, or I'm like a word person, like words fly out of my mouth, and you have to be careful with what you're saying. Like words are very, very powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. Was that you or is that somebody else that posted about the toothpaste story?
I don't know.
Yeah. Cause when you said that, it elicited this memory in me. Somebody who I know, and like I'm always reading and taking in content, told the story about toothpaste where, you know, sat their kid down and had him squeeze out a whole tube of toothpaste.
Yeah.
And then said, all right, go ahead and put it back in the tube. And the kid can't. And it's like, this is a metaphor. Like you can't, once your words come out, you know, and they've had their impact, like you can't put them back. Yeah. So as you go off to junior high, as you go off to high school,
I'm guilty of that for sure.
Yeah, me too. I got a lot of, you know, my wife will be the first one because she's the closest and she's been the biggest part of my development. Like it took me a little while, man. Like I was in my, you know, early 30s, mid 30s when I started to, you know, the brain started to develop.
So here's my theory about like couples, right? Like your wife marries you because she sees the man or the potential that you shall be one day and is investing in that.
Yeah.
I feel like men are marrying our wives because I want you to be that woman that I married here 20 years ago, having fun, drinking Bud Lights, partying, and you are both growing and developing. I think it's hard for men to see how much role their wives play in their lives. And really at the end of the day, like both of our wives, I know your wife, she does a lot more than you and I are doing on our hardest day.
Right. Yeah. No, I believe that wholeheartedly. And I think you're exactly right too, is part of it too, is like, you know, you meet somebody who makes you want to be better.
Yeah.
Like this person is worth, you know, me revamping myself and getting better every day. And so, yeah, that's cool. Shout out to Kat. Shout out to Jamie. Amazing wives, dude, for sure. Like nothing we do would be possible without the amazing women in the corner, dude.
Man, how else are you gonna get health benefits? My wife has a real life job. That's what I tell people. Anytime I meet in the mortgage or real estate business, I'm like, your success is most likely because your partner has a 9-to-5 job and they bring in some benefits.
Yeah, that's my mortgage origin story, dude. Is I was working for the state, with benefits, and then I was like, I just burned the boats, man. 2014, and you know, luckily I've had the support of the wifey to you know, take care of the Gougé Casa. She's the CEO of the Gougé Casa, and
I love it.
You know, keeps me in line, keeps me in check. Even, you know, in 20 and 21, when I thought I was the champion of the world and I was unstoppable, she made sure to humble me and make sure I wasn't, you know,
left at 6 in the morning, came home at 6 p.m. at night.
Yeah, shit. 6 p.m. was a half day, dude. It's probably more like I shit you
We're
not.
Here again, right? Like it's warming up again.
Yeah, you know, it's warming up, and like, you know, they're talking about the Fed cut, you know, and you know, we don't got to get into the details of that, but that's like marketing, right? So it's like all of our phones are just blowing up. You know, I've got people, sorry, this is a silly question. I go, no, like if I wasn't getting all these questions, if my phone wasn't exploding, I'd be out of business. So, yeah, I've been talking about a lot. Barry Habib was talking about it last week. Like we're done out of this 2 year and 9 month or however long you want to look at it. Like it's been a mortgage recession we're coming out of that, like you said, you got guys that, full time. So they're doing 2 or 3 loans a month. They're probably going to be doing 5 or 6 or 7 or 8, depending on how focused they are and whatnot. And so, it's going to be a fun time again, I think, for a lot of people, because whether they'll admit it or not, like, business is more fun when you're making more money.
Mortgages are so much more fun when you have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? Someone like walks away, have a nice day.
Right. Yeah.
I always say no one's busier than a loan officer with 1 loan.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally.
Yeah.
No one is busier than that guy. And that's what I like teaching. I think it's the team thing. You need to be able to learn 3, then learn how to do 5 every month, and learn how to do 10. There's systems involved. Everyone will hit it 1 month, right?
Yeah.
But can you do it again and again? And like you and I know, 10 loans a month requires 15 submissions, right? So there's that part of it.
Yeah, and it requires systems, and to your point, like to be duplicatable and not have 10 loans, then 2, then 8, then 1.
Yeah,
like you got to have systems in place, and for sure, man, so many people. This is real estate and mortgage. It blows my mind. You're like, you're a business owner. You're the CEO of your own business, 100% commission. There's no ceiling.
Yeah.
But you still don't treat it like a business.
Yeah.
Right. It's like if you,
I don't think it's a business. I don't, you have a business here. I have a business. I don't think loan officers run a business. A business is when one of your employees goes and fucks something off and you got to write a check for 20 grand. That's a business. Yeah. This is a benefit. Imagine running a business where some people will say, well, I don't pay for leads. I don't do this. I don't do that. Oh my God. Imagine running a successful business with a 0 marketing budget and putting $0 into anything, making no phone calls and going to no networking events, and then telling people you're a loan officer. It's not a business. It's a privilege to your community to be a loan officer. And there's things that you need to check off the list in order to look other people in the eye and tell them that you're going to be there when you say you are, right? Like, a main part of our business, right? I know your business comes from different parts, but a big part of it is the trust of a realtor to refer us business. And it's not just one realtor, it's double digits, right? 20, 30. You and I are probably texting or trying to communicate with 60 plus realtors every week.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll be there when you need me.
Right.
There's no refi boom. It's you, right? Like, that's how I want my clients to feel. Regardless if they know that we're offering the same service, because we need to do it multiple times over.
Yeah.
And I really don't think when loan officers call this a business, you're not running a business. It's not happening. And I don't think I'll ever do anything else. I love being a loan officer, but that's like one of my pet peeves. I think that a lot of guys out there, guys and gals, probably half our business is just repeating the same year over again.
Yeah, and they know enough steps in the process where it's like, okay, I know how to price a loan. I know how to say FHA or conventional.
Yeah.
But to your point, like, Barry Habib drove this home, and he laid into loan officers, like, if you don't know what the current, there's some economic stuff. You don't got to be a friggin' econ master. But like, you got to have an idea
of
like
engage a conversation.
What the Fed funds rate is, what the Fed is up to, how that will affect mortgage rates. That's gonna play into how you structure something. You mentioned the word fiduciary. Like, I know for certain that 80+% of loan officers, you get them on the phone and you're looking for advice. It's really not bad intention on their part, but they don't know enough to give good advice.
No.
I mean, God forbid a consumer reach out to somebody at a call center. And I
think they give too much advice sometimes with loan officers. I think there's the over smash of it all.
Yeah. And they're just, if you're on the phone with a consumer, most consumers don't have a ton of financial education. It's just like not in the school system. For most people's lives, they don't really need it, right? Like they just need a baseline. I'm paying into what's going to be my future retirement and whatnot. So they're not concerned about, finance very much at all. And then you get a kid who works in a call center. He was at Chick-fil-A last week.
Yeah.
He was the best fryer they had. He couldn't talk econ or finance to save his life. Yet, he's advising somebody and they're listening on, the biggest purchase of their life, the biggest debt they have, and they're talking about a
That's
refinance.
where I think the scripting for me like comes in kind of this time that we're in.
And here's my thing to that, the scripting, right? You can give a 24-year-old a script, but then it's like every single consumer is going to have millions of different scenarios based on how much they make and what their future plans are and what their current rate of pay is, what's going to go on with.
But is there any other option in getting qualified for a loan than filling out an application, turning in docs, and running credit? Is there another option?
No. Yes. I mean, so you can have, and that's to your point. You're going to have great systems in place. You're great at this piece. You're great at this piece. You're great at this piece. But to your point, to be called a loan officer, like I want to talk to Cam Villa. I don't want to talk to, Joe Rocket in a call center, because I want him to tell me, hey, listen, based on what you told me, I know you're trying to, get this thing paid off in 17 years because that's going to align with your retirement. Don't stretch yourself out with a 15-year. Take the 30. There's no prepaid penalty. You can pay extra payments. That kind of stuff, like that's not in a script, and that's not built into somebody. And so, I'm equally as passionate as you, I think, about like, don't call yourself, like me and you are not the same.
Yeah.
Right. And so that is what continues to drive me, because like you, dude, I love it. Like I'll always do this.
I love our industry so much. I've gone through the 2 hardest years of my entire life employment wise, and I wouldn't change my profession for anything. Look me up. My numbers are not great this year. Not even cool. I don't want to brag about them. Does my team do work? Yeah, my team does work, but it's hard, right? But what else am I going to do? Go work in a factory? Like I don't have, call me a caveman loan officer, right? Because I really want to just break it down and keep it as simple as possible. This is your house. This is your dream. If I can like get in and be a part of it, I truly believe like if you allow me access into your life, your life will be better if I'm in it.
Yeah. I love that, dude. I literally had that conversation with somebody today who was like, oh, Penny Mac's the servicer, and they're talking about this rate. And I go, listen, man, you're going to have multiple investment properties. You're going to do different stuff. Like I'm your advocate. We might be looking at different loan products. We might be looking at, oh, maybe you do this a little bit different if you want to, buy 6 investment properties in the next couple of years. Like that, you're not going to get that level of somebody who works for the servicer and they also happen to write loans, right? As like in a retention department. That's different.
That's on us. I mean, those people are coming. But like everyone's trying to sell you something. Even the person that's not your mortgage servicer, right? Like they're vying for your time. So that's the part that you and I think are good at, is once these folks are our clients, like they're our clients. You can say, hey, your family, your friends, all that stuff, but you're a client and we're going to keep you informed and we're going to keep you updated. And when you have a question, we're going to answer it. And I'm not going to throw anything down your throat.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what my clients for sure know. And I continue to like, I want to be the resource. You think anything to do with finances, anything to do with real estate, you hit me up. Oh, hey, Matt, I don't know if this is part of your wheelhouse. I got a call today. Guy was asking about like some form of insurance in case he gets disabled, to lose his job to pay his mortgage.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what, dude, it's a great question. That's not my wheelhouse, but guess what this call did for me today?
Yeah.
It forced me to learn something new. I'm getting better every day. I'm going to find out. I'm going to call some insurance brokers. I still don't know. Like I've heard something like that. So I think that like that product exists.
They'll insure anything, right? Hey, they'll insure anything in the world.
And I can give them that information. I can learn a little bit about it. I don't know if I'm going to like it or not like it. There's probably gonna be pros and cons. I mean, that's my whole YouTube channel. People were asking me like, oh, hey, you said this, which was
you got 1,000 videos on there?
1,100 or so. And you know what somebody told me? Like different people watch the same video and have different like thoughts on it, because I'm always pros and cons. The 1.0 buy down isn't the best product in the world for everybody. There's some pros, there's some cons. Might be for you, might not. Paying points. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. And so, yeah, that's me just getting out there and going, hey, I've done 1,400 deals and I like math. I like running numbers. Here's what I've seen. Here's where I've seen
spark a response from your clients, right?
Yeah.
Like they don't all have to like you. That's something I'm getting over now too. Like they do not all have to like me. Yeah. But again, I think if you and I are in their lives, It will be better. It's my job to make sure everything I do is beneficial to you.
Yeah.
Let's move on from there.
Yeah. Leave people better than you found them. Before I forget, man, I got a couple notes on Eisenhower matrix and essentialism. Dude. Give us the Eisenhower matrix.
So
dude.
the Eisenhower matrix for me, and anyone can look it up, right? I have it as a Google sheet on my phone at all times. It helps me structure my day. So the Eisenhower matrix is split up into 4 boxes, right? And you can just write it on a piece of paper every day. What do I have to do in the next 48 hours, right? Because there's only so many things, right? You can write all these names, these last names, you're getting fee sheets, quotes, all this stuff together, right? Yeah. But that's also the box of like, call PG&E, call my creditor, call my rent, call my renters, right? The second box is schedule a time. What do I need to schedule a time to do? Is it doctors? Is it to get fitted for, I don't know what people do. A suit. Yeah. People wear suits still?
I guess so.
But something that you have to schedule time for. The other box is who can do it for you. And I think that's a big problem in our lives is like, we all want to like be the project person, but if you can find someone that can do it or on your team, you pass it off, right? If they can do it as 80% as good as you, pass it on. And
I've gotten good at that, man. Last few years, I've gotten good at that.
And the last one is eliminate. What do you need to eliminate from your life? And really, I'm under this impression, or, you know, I read the book Essentialism, and to me, if you do not structure your own life, someone will do it for you. So some examples of that is I really try to take client calls from 2 to 4 p.m. every day. My reason for that is work has already done what it's going to do to you that day. Yeah. Life has already done what it's going to do to you that day. Let's have a conversation. If I talk to you at 8 in the morning, 9 in the morning, dude, you are bushy-eyed, ready to say no, ready to run, like the fear of the world is in your eyes, right? So there's that part of my system. I really try to if you're serious about this, I want to help you. If you're not, then I'm not the right fit for you. If you call me and say you want a fee sheet on something, I'm not your person. Yeah. I'll engage your conversation and we'll get to this point, but that's not me. Yeah. So
What's
really,
your rate?
Yeah, I want to focus on, we say this bringing value stuff, but I want to check some things off the box, man. If you want a house, this is the way to do it. Yeah. You got to check these things off the box.
Yeah. Yeah. If you need help with this, I'm happy to help you. I think that's hard for a lot of professionals, real estate, mortgage. And I feel like I've gotten kind of after 10 years and talking to, I must have talked to 20, 30,000 people, right?
Yeah.
Kind of identifying, you know what, we're not going to be a fit.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like,
who's your client? Like, who do you tell? Cause I mean, you obviously can blanket a lot of like clientele, but who's your ideal client?
I've got a couple different buckets, I think, because of the educational nature of all the stuff I put out there, people come to me and they go, this is what I need. I'm a first-time home buyer. I don't really understand it. Like, I need you to explain it to me in a simple way, like I've seen in your videos.
Yeah.
And for those buyers, I love it because I think they need somebody probably more than someone who's doing their 7th transaction.
Yeah.
They're like, I got an 800 credit score, make $400,000 a year as an engineer. I know I qualify. Like, they don't need me as much as a first-time home buyer. And so that first-time home buyer, to me, like, one, it's being part of that whole transaction, to me, is fun. Like, it's rewarding, especially somebody thinks they can never own a house.
Yeah.
They're the first person in there, how, like, that to me is just really cool to be a part of. But then those investor clients, which is another bucket, is like, I'm a fellow investor and I've worked with a lot of investors. Like I told the guy in Florida today, I want to be on your team, not just because I want the business and I'm telling you, hey, work with me. Like, I think I'm going to add value.
Yeah.
I can pull off of, the 20 plus transactions I did for Jazz Preet and his partner. And as I watched him kind of work through single family, multifamily, buy a hotel, like I'm around enough investors and I'm learning the information as an investor myself.
Yeah.
To where I can say, oh, you know what? I've seen that before. Here's what you should do. You were thinking about doing this. Why don't you, maybe structure it this way, and it's going to allow you to add a couple more and still
How many investment properties do you own?
We've got a couple fourplexes in Marysville. Then we got 4 single family in the greatest neighborhood, Sacramento, College Glen.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it's funny too, because then from an investor's perspective, somebody calls me, they go, I don't know about California. People tell me tenant laws. And I go, listen, like there's a lot of different ways to do this. I've seen successful people own 20 rental properties that are all worth 150 grand, in Memphis. And that's one way. And maybe that's more cash flow. A simple public school dude like me might own, just 6 pieces of real estate, 4 single family and 2 quads. But like, since they're in California, it's $3.5 million in real estate. And over the last 40 years, California real estate's gone up 7% a year. 7% of $3.5 million is something. It's almost $250,000 in appreciation every year. While I'm sleeping next to my beautiful wife in the house with my kids, just normal dude.
Yep.
$5,000 a month in debt pay down. And so like I've not only been a part of people's real estate transactions and seen the magic of real estate, like I live it and I feel it. I got it in my daily life. Right.
I just got my first, just bought my first flip a month ago. So
that duplex you're talking about, right?
I got a duplex.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. I want to know the numbers of that, dude, because I love real estate investing.
Yeah. So I went in with 2 other partners, purchased a home in the low 400s in Tahoe Park. It's a duplex. So it's 2 separate homes on one lot. No renter. When we close, no renter in the unit. So technically no rent control. It starts with us.
What is each unit? 2 bedroom?
The front is 3-1 and the back is 2-1. Aggie Square's going in, obviously at UC Davis. I think that Tahoe Park is one of the more desirable neighborhoods in that south of Broadway area. Good school, great starter area. I would think that home would probably be purchased somewhere in the 600s.
Yeah.
But it sounds wild, but I could definitely see nearing $3,000 for the front and $2,500 for the back.
Yeah. I mean, rents are wild too. And
I think that's the interesting part. I think from a young person's perspective, me not being a young person, but saying from a young person's perspective, these kids would rather live near their work and buy a home near there than be near the river or somewhere that was desirable from a cultural or family standpoint.
Yeah.
They would much rather live. And so I think that's really the draw. I have a hard time wrapping my brain around. And I did, when I see these people talk about the rents and how they feel about that, that's a business owner, right? Is moving forward without being reactive to the crowd's voice. If you're not a business owner, that stuff doesn't happen. You fold when they fold, right? So I think that that's part of this ownership thing. I'm excited. We're going to fix it up. We have planned on flipping it, but I don't know. It's kind of a good transaction to lean off of. I think one of the stress points is there's partners in this transaction. I think that and from a profit standpoint, that's always, a hand-raising discussion.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess.
And you're making a lot of choices. I don't know a whole lot about flipping, so I'm really playing standby, playing gopher, handling all the financing part of it, all the accounting. I'm the receipt picture taker. But that's kind of really my role while I let these kind of 2 more professional in that setting than I am kind of handle the build out part.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun. It's fun to be part of it.
Is it?
Well, here's the thing. Probably for me, it's more fun to be an onlooker, right?
Yeah.
Because I get to see, like, dude, I can tell you so many stories. I got great buddy who's a real estate agent who actually had a single family in Tahoe Park flip, seasoned flipper, ended up starting his own construction company. 2022, rates go up. All of a sudden, like, the thing's not going to pencil. And he was scared, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to, it doesn't take a lot. Like, financing is going to be an extra 30 grand. The rehab's going to be an extra 30 grand. All of a sudden you went from making money to you're going to lose money.
Yeah.
And long story short, I know like how big of a deal this was for him because, we talked about it. I ended up having the buyer on this deal. You know what he ended up doing? He ended up like just telling himself new strategy.
Yeah.
I'm I'm going to add an ADU because more housing units, what we need, more like rehab, nice.
So what I love, I mean, that's like my argument about this duplex that I have is someone will go in there and, you know, if there was no space for an ADU back there, someone would go and put 150 to 200 grand to build an ADU. And it's like, well, the house is already built.
It's already there. Well,
right here.
And that's the thing too, is like, I do a ton of stuff for, and so anyway, added an ADU, you know, ended up winning on the deal. And the buyer who I had was a real estate agent who for 700 grand, you know, this income property in Tahoe Park was a home run for them. We structured it too. Like, that's the fun part about our job, man, is as an investor, as a mortgage guy, as someone who loves numbers, I knew the sell side, I knew the buy side. Like, let's come together. What's your goal?
Cool. That part was cool to learn the financing. I had never been part of a self hard money transaction like that. I got financing and I got a renovation budget included. My partners, Dana and Serge, like really cool guys. And I'm learning like so much from them because I'm totally out of my element.
Yeah.
Totally out of my element.
New stuff is fun though, dude. Like
new stuff is fun. And, you know, but as you get older, obviously it costs you money and like appendages, right? Like as we're wanting to learn new things.
Problems, this issue. You talk about production being down.
Yeah.
Man, the stress of that, dude. I don't know. I think
that's a big part of our lives too, is the health aspect. Like we've all been on, I mean, my partner is one of the healthiest guys I've ever met. We've all been on this health kick, and it has never been so much about getting a six pack or getting muscles. It's more been about being able to take on the stressors of our environment successfully.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's a stressful industry. On the other side of all that stress is people's dreams coming true, right? Like, bought the house and never thought I'd be a homeowner, you know, single mom, bought her first investment property.
We work in the best industry that was ever created. I would love to help others experience it, but it's such a 1 in a million shot. You know, I think that's the one thing that you and I probably have a hard time as we meet new staff and new potential loan officers. Like, it doesn't take much to spark some success, but in order to keep that success going consecutive years, that's the real
it's a lot of work
struggle.
Yeah. It's a lot of work. It's a grind. I'm excited about that duplex project. So I'll make sure to check in with you on that because, you know, to your point, I was going to say, I work with a lot of first-time home buyers. I work with a lot of investors.
Yeah.
And like those two worlds collide when we're in the type of environment we're in right now with affordability. Like, everybody who I do loans for, not everybody, vast majority, young, Bay Area.
Yeah.
Like, they have to buy something like that.
Absolutely.
Because it's like $6,500 is a lot. So if I get $3 grand from that back unit on this place in, you know, Daly City or Walnut Creek, like, I'm going to be able to, you know, afford to live here.
Well, you're also educating your clients. I mean, you're telling first-time home buyers about investor goals, right? Like, and that's the best part about first-time home buyers. They're all investors at that point, right? They all want to own rental properties until you tell them 15 or 25% down, and then that changes. But this is the awesome part for us, is the primary residence multi-property option. I've seen a few. I feel like not as many have been done as should be happening right now.
I know exactly what you're saying. And like 2 to 4 unit, 5% down conventional, it came out all the rage. You're like, is anyone writing these loans? I talked to UWM and they said, like, the AUS, the automated findings, are so strict. Like, over 40 DTIs getting, you know, ineligible. And so they're not writing as much. But dude, I got one right now, 19-year-old kid buying a duplex.
That's what I like. Like, imagine that you having this college or some kind of trade experience school experience that you can use for employment. You get a job that pays the bills. It's a salaried position and you're off to the races.
Right.
It's like that to me. That's where I think really that if colleges and financial institutions could combine forces, that's probably where they should intersect. Because especially in places like Sacramento, a whole lot of 2-1s out here. That's not a family style house. That's perfect for a new graduate that's moving to the area.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, gosh, dude, I've been watching stuff with investors and Pace Morby, and, you know, he thinks that the new rage is going to be, God, what the heck do they call it, dude? They literally make separate living units. Like, take a 4-bedroom house and it's like 4 individual units in that 4-bedroom house.
Yeah.
Shared living or something, maybe it's
That
called.
sounds like the dumbest shit I've ever heard. But again, I can't question the way that like sometimes our culture works.
Right.
And that's desirable. That's affordable.
Yeah, affordable. Affordable is the main word there, but
It's hard to live. I think you and I sometimes lose sight about how much income it takes to make it work.
Yeah, in California, it's a real thing. You know, that's what I tell people too, is like, you know, you want a finger on the pulse of, you know, consumer sentiment, how the economy's doing. Like, I'm having the conversations every single day. Unfortunately, more than ever, a lot of the conversations go back to, you know what, like, it ain't the time for me.
Well, here's my question to you. Like, this rate cut, okay, you can borrow money cheaper now. But what does that mean on the big picture? It means that the economy, they don't have a lot of trust in it.
Yeah.
And they want individuals to be able to have outlets for cheaper funds.
Right.
Cars, credit cards, whatever it takes. Even the offering to go out and get it now. There's all those people that didn't want to get it because of the high interest rates.
Right.
So, you know, at what point does that, because I want to lend this appreciation to the interest rates, but the other part of me looks at interest rates as the end result. This is what the civilians get based on monetary policy. So I don't think that sometimes consumers are in this available position to have discussions about the interest rates. You get what you get, right? And that's what the public is putting out. So I sometimes if people want to sit down and have a real convo about that, that's kind of what I really think about the interest rates.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely an interesting time, and we'll see how this, you know, new monetary policy, like the first rate cut is done, dude. And so like this is the start of a new cycle. And so, you know, credit cards are going to have a lower interest rate. Car loans are going to have a lower interest rate. Home equity line of credit, all that stuff that's tied to that, lower interest rates.
Yeah.
And while mortgage rates aren't directly tied to the Fed funds rate, like we'll follow.
They are competitive to those rates, though. I think we are now. I think the reason for me, what I'm experiencing or what I view is they're vying for that same money. We're at the highest debt ceiling we've ever been. Everyone's got a Peloton in their garage that has cobwebs on it now, right? Yeah. We're the real estate world, like that, those cash out refinances, we're vying for that money now too. And I think that's where the downward push for these rates come from.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's 6 million people between 6.5 and 5.5 that will become like in the money for refinance. So there's a lot of
purchasing. It's going to be an awkward winter, but winter's always slow, right? Maybe this isn't slow this year.
There should be an uptick in demand in mortgage applications when rates go lower. So yeah, like there's that. And there's also like, where's the inventory? I'd be interested in your take on this too, because like there's certain things where people are like, you guys are mortgage guys, you guys are always going to say this, right?
Yeah.
There's little inventory. Demand's going up because rates are going down, so it's going to be competitive. Home prices can't fall because of that. I was talking with someone yesterday, and like in Sacramento specific, if you go to Rancho, you go to Folsom, you go to any of these surrounding areas, you're like, it seems like they're building a lot of friggin' homes. Natomas is exploding.
They're building a lot.
And so, you know, I think that's something, I'm going to say it out loud so I remember it and people can hear it. Real estate, while you can look at national trends and be like, oh, year over year, up 4%, you know, home prices, you could get into a region, you could be in Austin, Texas, and be like, stuff exploded over the last 18 months. They might be down 10 or 15% on the average home price. And so do you think that they're building enough where we might see some price softening?
I don't. I think that they're building half of these builds that they're doing, half of them are for renters. That's what it looks like in every other state, right? You drive into these new builds and it's like renters this direction, lease, buy, right?
Yeah.
There's this whole group of individuals in our age group, right? 40 to 65 that will never own a home. They would rather put all their money to rent. They got no problem. Folsom, Carmichael, Natomas, rent it up, right?
Damn, $3,500 a month.
It's just the way that it is. It's the experience. We all need and want a roof over our head. And I want to be 20 minutes from downtown or wherever I need to go. A lot of these people are teleworking, right? I just heard of a transaction canceling because the gentleman received notice that Amazon's calling everyone back in live into the office.
Yeah.
And so he walked away from a purchase transaction after finding that out.
You don't want to go back to the office?
You don't want to go back to the office.
Oh man, what a world we live in, dude. I appreciate your time, man.
Thanks so much.
I
for
enjoyed
having me
this,
out,
dude.
Man.
Any parting words for the Get Better Everyday community?
I think that it has to be personal for you. Don't look over your shoulder. I cut off all my social media stuff. If you're some lone whiz, I'm not following you. I got my own life and the preparation and my own coaches and mentors. And at the end of the day, I just want to be the best on my block. And I know doing that is going to bring me more success than I could ever dream to be imaginable.
Yeah. Getting better every day looks different for everybody. So
Getting better every day.
every day.
Every day, man. I mean, I think that's kind of our ode to ourselves and being an adult is keeping that. So you promoting that, man. That's amazing.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Thank you.